Hi, it's Digesting Beer with Weyerbacher's Sunday Morning Stout and their very old-fashioned labeling that they've been using for quite a while. I guess now it kind of stands out because it's got the old Juster and it kind of looks like the label style of the sort of 90s, early 2000s of breweries that you see, but this is an Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels with coffee. Pretty strong, 11.3% alcohol. And this one has just been getting a little bit of hype and really good reviews. And I thought I'd give it a try. It's one of the big bourbon barrel aged stouts that is kind of easy to get your hands on at really reasonable prices, at least in the East Coast, as opposed to lots of bombers of expensive ones or Bourbon County Stout or whatever. There are actually 4-packs of this for, I don't know, $15 or something maybe. And there isn't a lot of other specific information I was able to find anywhere on the internet about like exactly how they used the coffee, how they infused it, what kind of coffee. I know they have an espresso version of this one, so I assume this is not a super dark roast, at least not espresso roast. I don't know how many months it was aged in bourbon barrels. I'm assuming it was a blend of bourbon barrels usually. That's what they do unless they say specifically. And this one is bottled, can't see on there too well, January 25th of this year. And the best by date is 2 years after the bottling. I assume you could age longer than that, but you'll lose some of the coffee flavors. And from what I've seen with a lot of Weyerbacher beers is that they leave them pretty unfiltered. So the aged ones I've had have changed quite a bit there. There's a lot of yeast in the bottom, so they've gotten drier. But I'm drinking this one pretty fresh because I like my stouts full-bodied and kind of sweet usually. When I've aged some lately, I haven't been a huge fan of them actually. They have interesting dark fruit flavors that come out, but I like that little bit of chocolatey sweetness to it. So it's time, without further ado. A good amount of carbonation in this, I think. Looks real dark. Yeah, definitely a lot of carbonation for such a strong beer. Ooh. But it smells real boozy, and that like charred, intense coffee aroma mixes with the booze quite a bit. Yeah, bourbony. Yeah, it's actually a little hot. Maybe this could have used some age. I'm getting a little bit of a licorice-y thing going on, which I was hoping wouldn't be there, but with something this strong, you're gonna have that, definitely. I'm just hoping there's enough sweetness. But I get the bourbon, I get vanilla, I get a little bit of some charred wood, I get charred dark malts, and there's some nice legs, but I'm just really surprised at all that head that's happening. And the coffee's kind of just like, it's not coming out super strongly. It's really blended in there with the dark malts and the toasty bourbon quite a bit. I mean, I don't know, I might guess that there would be coffee in this. Well, there's a lot going on. But there is, yeah, a little bit of a ethanol, hot, little bit of a nail polish remover thing happening. Not a weird yeasty cough syrup thing, but it smells just real darn boozy. Yeah, a little bit more mellow flavor, thankfully, but the heat just gets in my palate and takes over. But yeah, there's some nice sweetness in there. I'm noticing the coffee more now. Just a little bit of a like dark plum, fig, prune thing. But some creamy mocha coffee with some nice tannic real vanilla, heavily creamed coffee finish. Yeah, it's a really nice flavor. And now the coffee's coming a little bit more. Yeah, it's very nice, but like the booziness is a little harsh. But it's hard to tell if maybe the high carbonation for the strength is making it seem a little lighter than it is. It's got almost creamy body, but it's not quite as thick and creamy as some other beers like this, but not too bad at all. But that foam is just so dark. You can see it's real intense. But this is definitely a long sipper. It's a fun beer, but there's a lot of dark fruits. It's not all chocolate, coffee, and bourbon. And the bourbony elements are definitely there, but not overwhelming. Definitely adding a lot of booze and char to the flavor, but it doesn't have that finish that's like I just took a shot of Jim Beam. Maybe eventually I'll get that. But it works pretty well. I don't think the reviews are lying too much. It's not quite as good as some other coffee Imperial Stouts have had lately, but it might just be for my taste. I'm not one person who goes crazy for all the big bourbon barrel aged stouts with lots of crazy stuff added. I have been getting more and more into coffee beers these days and enjoying tasting them and how coffee can be manifested in beer. And I think I really like it when they add cold brew coffee, surprisingly. Even though doing that seems like it's a totally separate thing from the beer brewing, just throwing in some cold brew at the end, but it works out really well. And this one, I assume, since they say aged in bourbon barrels with coffee, they probably just put some coffee in the bourbon barrels while this was aging. So it's not maybe as noticeable as a fresh beer where they just freshly added cold brew coffee. But it's in there, and it's got that nice creamy mocha aroma and taste that I really love in coffee stouts. But then there's a big, hot, bourbony quality to it that you are going to expect with a beer that's this big. It could be, I could just a tad sweeter. I think I would like that. So it's a good thing I did drink it fresh, because it would probably only thin out from this point on. But just a tad more sweetness would help make it a little bit softer and creamier. Help you deal with the booze a little more. And I didn't refrigerate this for very long, so it's pretty warm right now. Maybe just below cellar temperature. But maybe the sweetness will come out and will mellow out a little bit as it gets warm. But I found out that maybe if the carbonation dies down a little more, it's pretty good. It's definitely worth it if you can find it to get like if you want like a legit big bourbon barrel aged stout with coffee. It's definitely worth the under $5 a bottle or so that you might pay for it. But it's not the sort of thing I go crazy for. It's well enough done, just a little too boozy. I feel like if it were just not quite as fermented, if it were just a little bit lower, it'd be perfect for my tastes. Maybe some other people love the way it is already. That aroma is pretty nice once you get used to the booze. Yeah, I'll do like an 881 or something like that. 82, because I just have had some other ones that I think accomplished the coffee thing a little bit better. And I don't know if the bourbon barrels, like I would have liked to maybe try this before they put it in the bourbon barrels, if it was a little bit lower in alcohol and a little less boozy. Though it is a really pleasant aroma once you get used to the booze, but it's a little more sweetness would make it the right balance for my tastes. So like, let's say 82 for the Weyerbacher Sunday Morning Stout. My favorite one, which I should try to get my hands on again and maybe do writing about or something, is the Trillium PM Dawn. They're only 9% alcohol cold brew coffee stout. That was probably one of my favorite stouts of all time. But if you like your big boozy ones, big bourbony ones, this is a very nice variant to the way too expensive, way too strong and sweet Bourbon County Stout. Good night.